There's a young girl crying out my name. Afghanistan, I hear her crying like that. She's run away. She needs somebody. And she's heard about Yeshua. She heard the soldiers praying out his name. Now she's standing in the place and afraid. On a hill in Afghanistan, she's crying out, and I'm hearing her. I'm coming to her through your praise. Sing it gently, that's what she's doing. Now hold the G minor. I want you just to chant like I do. There's a mother that is crying deep in Iran. There's a mother that is crying about to give birth. Shall I let this child die? What future does she have? Who shall I turn to? Who shall I call? Yet she's heard. She heard a sound of Christ on the internet. Now she's calling out what to do. And I will hear her as Israel stands for me. Go again, Anna. Now ready. Up and out. Let's get into it. You may not have entered into something like this before. But God is prophesying on the instruments. Light going forward. I cannot say, well, he's a Democrat, I'm not going to pray for him. That's hypocrisy. Now, if God anointed Saul, there was a reason for Saul. Now, out of the bitter came something sweet. Now, that's just the one aspect of it. I'm dealing with the president right now. That's only one aspect of it. We'll talk in a few minutes about what happened. So, it's difficult for people to comprehend this because of our prejudices, our bigotry, and the general influence on our opinions from secular news media and even religious leaders. Before actually tasting the sweetness, I was overwhelmed by a strong presence of hatred and bitterness permeating from the citizens of the United States of America. When I sensed this, I was literally tasting the bitterness. Not that would only come, but that is present. And God was so grieved. Because this was not just believers, unbelievers. These were believers as well. I could sense this coming from unbelievers and believers. So much so that I sensed God was severely grieved. That politics and the economy and the news media has put us in a position where we are completely corrupted in our hearts, and bitterness is coming forth instead of praying prophetically, calling out to God. I sensed corruption after that. And then an exposure of this by a strange happening, a strange turn of events. Now this is what I saw. At this point, now remember we're speaking about a corruption that we don't know about yet, and the strange happening or strange turn of events that will literally be the turning point in American history. Now that's a big thing to say. I'm saying what I've heard, it's not happening. But please repent. If your heart is bitter and you have hatred, because it's not going to help you living like that as warriors. Okay? Now, let me share about the taste of honey. The taste of honey, honey. Remember that song? Oh, you're too young for that. Some of you may remember that. Now, stay with me, please. Book of Judges, I'm going to share something with you, and I want to ask Sunil to join me. Judges chapter 14, verse 1. Now, Samson went down to Timnah and saw a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. I'm reading it. It's being prompted for me, so I don't have to look down and read my Bible now. I've got it printed out there in front of me. He wanted a woman from the Philistines. So he went up and told his father and mother, saying, I've seen a woman in Timnah of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me as a wife. What I want you to read in verse 3 and 4 is very unusual. Then his father and mother said to him, Is there no woman amongst the daughters of your brethren or among all of my people that you must go and get a wife from an uncircumcised Philistine? And Samson said to his father, Get her for me, for she pleases me well. Okay, we won't go into that. Verse 4. But his father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord. Hold on, has God lost his mind? This is against the Jewish rules and laws. But verse 4 is in the same Bible that you read. Don't try and take it out. His father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord, because God was seeking an occasion to move against the Philistines. Wait a bit. Can God not just do it himself? Why does he need a man to marry a woman from the Philistines to have an occasion? Oh God, you need an occasion? Yes, he does. Because he moves through humanity. That's how he created us. If he wants to do something, most times God, unless in some sovereign way, he'll do it some other way, he will speak and use leadership. He will use spiritual authority. Or any authority. Not bad, of course not. But look at this. The father and mother were stunned when they really found out this is from God, because God had a bigger plan. It was wrong. It seemed evil. But we now understand in Judges and verse 4 that it was of the Lord, because God had a purpose behind this, what seemed like an act of evil. I know that you're catching what I'm saying. I can feel it. Some of you were angry to start with, but now you're realizing there's something more to this. Stop looking at the surface stuff and quoting the news media and all this stuff. And America's going to hell and we curse America. No, you won't. Not anybody that follows with me. We are going to bless this nation. You read verse 4 again. His father and mother did not know that it was of the Lord. How do you know if something's of the Lord or not? Just because it doesn't fit well or sit well with you in your own mind and opinion. How do you know? What do I know? Except that God has the bigger picture. God knows something we don't know. And he must be blamed then for what's happening now. Yes, I know leaders make mistakes. Listen, George Bush made mistakes. Most presidents make mistakes, do wrong things. I know this is actually at a point of being ridiculous. I understand with this present president. But hear me again. It's not who I want you to vote for. You vote as your conscience tells you. You vote how you feel. And if it's for the betterment of the country and for your own personal lives, this is not to do with the voting. This is to do with something I had an insight about. God is up to something. God is up to something that is way beyond our natural comprehension. He is seeking an occasion to move against. And I'm not going to go into detail as to what is presently the enemy to America and the enemy to Israel. God did not wait for the most perfect moment in time to send his only begotten son. In fact, he sent him at the worst time because he was up to something. Nobody knew it would be God amongst animals. Nobody dreamed that this would happen. But just a few people understood that something out of the bitter would come sweet. God was seeking for an occasion to move against the Philistines. For at that time, the Philistines had dominion over Israel. Oh, Kim, are you saying Obama's going to... I'm not saying anything. I'm trying to show you. We don't know. So Samson went down to Timnah with his father and mother and came to the vineyards of Timnah. To his surprise. You ready for this? This is what God spoke clearly to me. To his surprise, a young lion came roaring against him. How many of you know that's bitter? That's difficult. That's an attack. That's not sweet. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him. Oh, hold on. This is lustful Samson. This is Samson that wants this gorgeous woman from another tribe, from another nation. Why would the Spirit of the Lord come upon someone that is breaking these rules? Kim, this is getting heavy. I know. And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he tore the lion apart as one would have torn a young goat. Well, a young goat's pretty difficult to tear apart. Though he had nothing in his hand. An attack. A vicious attack. A bitter moment. Samson's going to go through it again. And out of it, in the end, he will put his hands against two pillars led by a young person, the youth. This is the year of the youth. It's this year that it's all going to happen. That's right. You're catching it, aren't you? Seduction. Corruption. You with me? Losing strength. Losing his secret strength, his hair. Going around in circles. Doing the work of a mule, Samson did, while they laughed at him as his eyes were plucked out. And in that state, God's Spirit came upon him, and a young man took him and led him to the pillars. And suddenly the destruction of that enemy took place. And that was the sweetest moment of all. Now, I know there are things around that, surrounding that you may disagree with. Well, why did Samson have to die, etc.? I'm telling you what I got in the Spirit. Now, the young lion attacks Samson at a vineyard. Whew, I'm quite warm from the Spirit being on me right now. Listen, I'm getting to the next one, which is very powerful. I want Sunil to come here now. Listen. Then he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well. After some time, when he returned to get her, he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. The bitter died. And behold, a swarm of bees and honey were in the carcass of the lion. That is what I saw. That is what I tasted. Out of the bitter came something sweet. And he gives that riddle later on. But I'm not going to go into that because it's important. There's a very, very powerful anointing as I've broken through your opinions and mind and what you thought was going to happen to get you to see the bigger picture here. Let's just stay with this one moment before we do the code breakers stuff. And then I'll get to the next vision, which is even more shocking. Samson was so hungry that he had no strength left in him. Was so desperate, and the very same thing that attacked him brought life to him. The very same bitter moment brought strength to him, nurtured him physically, and got him, or restored his strength. America, your strength is going to be restored. Out of the bitter, out of the attack, is going to come something sweet. Take it or leave it. You can go and listen to NSBC or whatever they're called, ABC, and try and fathom it out. They cannot fathom it out. They don't know. They have to mark a man, a company of people, an administration, a Democrat, whatever. That's fine. They have all their faults. But so do Republicans. This is not about that. It's about God. What is it that you are going to bring out of this bitter moment in our lives? I say something sweet.
Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for watching Prophetic Rewind with me this week again. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it wonderful? You must know that I choose these every week based on how God directs me. And that's why they're not chronological. And sometimes you might, see a repeat and think, she's played this for us before. It's because I'm reminding you of the promises given. But I cannot express to you how much it means, the support. We have been doing Prophetic Rewind now for, I think, 5 years. It would be about 4 or 5 years. And it has been one of the greatest joys of my life to be able to do this. And just to give you this every week, that I have access to all of this incredible footage that I can share with you. And it's because of you that I'm able to keep doing this. It's because you support Prophetic Rewind. And I didn't know, in the beginning how this would go. I wasn't sure. And it has been a healing and a blessing and a reminder. And every week it builds my faith, or I'll find a beautiful worship song or whatever it is we're watching for the week. And you join me every week, and your communications with me are a blessing to you, and your prayers and your support. And it's just been such a blessing. And so, as we close, I believe we're closing in on 5 years now that we've been able to keep bringing you Prophetic Rewind every week. And it's because of your support that we're able to do this. And so I thank you from the bottom of my heart every week for those of you that have faithfully supported Prophetic Rewind, because those prophecies and those words and those promises given by God through my dad are timeless. They're not limited to the life of my dad because they didn't come from him. They came from God. And so when we come together every week like this and we watch Prophetic Rewind, and I'll guide you through the e-blasts. If you don't get them, sign up for them. Something special happens between us. And God is able to continue to move as we watch those promises bloom and blossom. And I couldn't do it without you. I could not do it without your support and your obedience. And so, however you give, we'll have our ways to give. We'll scroll across the screen there. You can call, you can text, you can do whatever you want. But continue giving to this because it's not over. I have more to share with you. And as God instructs me, I'm going to keep on and keep on and keep on. And we're going to get through this together. And so I love you all and thank you.